Hello, everyone. I am Steve Dubin. I'm the host of South Shore Senior News' podcast, My Generation. South Shore Senior News is both a print and digital product that reaches out to inform and entertain both the sandwich generation and seniors themselves. We look forward to bringing on guests who impact the lives in a positive way of seniors. If you know of someone who would be a great guest, please contact me by going to our website, which is easy enough to find, and let me know who you recommend, and we'll do our best to vet them. Today, our guest is both a lawyer and an HR professional who, among the many things she does, is provide consultation to companies and individuals about employment. And this session is to talk about the special skills and value that seniors bring to both the job market and the volunteer world, both their assets and some of the ageism that they run into. And with that, Carolyn Ross from Ross Insight Solutions, I'd like to bring you on. Welcome, Carolyn.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Steve. I appreciate it.
Well, good to have you. So tell me first of all, where you think seniors add extra value to the employment scene as opposed to people who are just coming into employment, either post-high school or college.
Yeah, I think there are many, many aspects to that answer. One is obviously experience and expertise and knowledge that they've gained over their many years of working. And sometimes even in industries that aren't applicable to the workplace that they may be finding themselves in or trying to find themselves in, but just the knowledge, the patience, the problem-solving abilities, having been through many challenges in their careers in some cases, they know how to work through those things in a calm, even-keeled way, and to solve those problems and help teams, organizations figure out those solutions in very effective ways that a newer employee to the market may not really know and understand very well. They also bring in many cases, a level of compassion, communication, understanding, relationship and customer orientation that some younger adults may not have yet. They haven't developed that sort of seasoned understanding of relationships and communication, especially not if they've spent a lot of time on their phones sending emojis instead of actual sentences. So yeah, many, many advantages to having older workers in the workplace.
And your work is primarily with employers, helping them stay within compliance of employment law, as well as run an effective, profitable business, correct?
Yes. Yeah. And a big part of that is the people, right? So one of my catchphrases is to help small and medium-sized businesses transform their business through their people. And people bring all different aspects to the workplace, including older workers have their own aspects that they're bringing to the workplace. And so culture and engagement, how do you get those people working well together? How do you build that business based on those, not just the compliance pieces? We're doing it because we have to check a box to be legally in compliance, but we're doing it because it results in people wanting to work here and stay a long time, both newer and more mature, more experienced employees.
Well, so I came across an article recently that talked about seniors continuing to work for three reasons. None of them, well, not all of them are as apparent as you'd think. One of them was because it's nice to have an income flow. Two, they were concerned about inflation and the impact on their nest egg. But three, they really needed a social context to their life, some structure to their life, and some meaning. What are you seeing in terms of why seniors continue to work?
I think all of those are legitimate reasons, but in a lot of cases, it's not even a financial or economic reason. It is because they want to continue to contribute. They want to continue to have engagement with colleagues and customers, and be able to help businesses be successful. And, studies have shown that businesses are much more successful when they have a diverse workforce, including age diversity. And so, I think seniors get it, that that's something that they can help be a part of, and that feels good. I mean, we all want to have meaning in our lives, whatever that is, whether it's true retirement and doing things that you enjoy just for fun, or being able to contribute and also make money at the same time. Nothing wrong with that.
Sure. Okay. And so part of this article I was reading mentioned specifically that Whole Foods, Macy's, Talbot's, Kohl's literally have policies to attract seniors.
Yep.
But that, and that stands for a lot of other retail as well, but it's less of a practice within corporate America, within white collar positions. Do you see any of that sort of trend?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it might be more for seniors who want to continue working, more effective in most cases to look for smaller businesses, right? Businesses that aren't the huge national. And is that fair? No. I do think an article I recently read said that only 4% of companies, I think it was an AARP study, showed that only 4% of companies actually do have a policy for attracting and retaining older workers. That's pretty low. But I think for smaller and medium-sized businesses, the more local ones, particularly, they're looking for those opportunities because they do understand and recognize the value that those employees can bring to their workplace.
And so, what are the things that you recommend to your clients about how to attract them? And then specifically, how do you assimilate them into the workforce?
Yeah, I think in order to attract them, first of all, you've got to be looking for the right things in the candidates that you're screening, the resumes and the applications that you're screening, looking for experience and, years of experience that you want versus, just, I think sometimes what happens is people look for somebody who's going to be, right out of the gate with tons of energy and ideas. Seniors certainly have those same approaches to things. And so not having those preconceived notions, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, that you have to have a younger worker for that reason. I think customizing benefits, having flexibility available, some seniors might want to go south in the winter. Do you have that option? Are you able to accommodate that, or let them work remotely from another state for certain time periods if they're on a extended vacation or whatever? Do they have the flexibility they need? Making sure you're accommodating if they happen to have medical needs or other needs, that you're making those accommodations. In return, I mean, some employers roll their eyes and think, oh, I don't want to have to do that. But in return, you get commitment, you get knowledge, you get so many positives that in the long run, it's far better.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I will speak and give a shout out to my staff that Jen Tomasetti's worked with me for almost 25 years. Joe DeRamo's worked with me for almost 20 years. And that longevity and that legacy make for better client outcomes, better internal communication. And none of us want to put in 60-hour weeks anymore.
Right.
But we're very effective within the time frame we have.
Yep. Well, and you do know how to do that when you have to, right? And you're willing to, whereas a lot of younger workers they want to have as much free time as possible and not have to work as much, and they want that flexibility, but they don't want to pay the price with the hard work necessarily to get there all the time. Whereas older workers, we know what it takes to get it done. Not saying you should have to work 60-hour weeks, but things happen. And sometimes that is an important aspect of things. I think of one of my clients recently, they had sort of a stream of, and I don't mean to be insulting younger workers, but a steady stream of younger workers in this one position. They kept hiring people that they knew, like friends of people who worked there, right? And they would come and go very quickly. And that's very costly to a business to have to retrain, rehire regularly. And sometimes they were having to bring in temps at a higher cost to cover the work. And now they've hired someone who is definitely a senior, has great experience. She will probably be there for a very long time. She's learning the job very quickly. She's picking it up. She's coming up with her own ideas already to make things better. And that comes from her experience.
And part of, I think, what's happened to everyone obviously is COVID. The COVID shutdown had a lot of long-term effects, and it also gave us a good dose of what it's like to be isolated. How has that impacted on seniors in the workplace in terms of maybe some more of them working remotely or in different kinds of timeframes and ways?
Yeah, I think the fact that we have opportunity, as I said earlier, for people to work remotely at times or fully, and or be hybrid, to be able to take care of themselves and balance that with the workplace needs is very beneficial. A lot of people have this preconceived notion that seniors are, older folks aren't good with technology. First of all, that's false. Many of them are, and or can learn it very readily. And nowadays there are so many tools and techniques that are available for hybrid work, for remote work, et cetera, that I think it opens up doors for a lot of opportunity. Hopefully we won't have a pandemic type situation reemerging, but if we do, it's important for older folks to be able to stay safe too, right? Because they were at greater risks at that time. And, so continuing to be cognizant of that and offering opportunities for folks to be able to work in a safe way, whatever's going on. I actually have a client right now that has 7 or 8 employees with COVID. They only have a team of about 15 or 20. So yeah, it's still, it's still a concern. And they're switching a lot of things to remote right now, temporarily.
Okay. And, I think that sometimes we hear whispers of ageism, sometimes we hear shouts of it, right? So the shout of it would be an employer who broke the law by saying, "How old are you?" in an interview, correct?
It could be that. Yeah.
And there are other sort of whispers of ageism. How do you recommend people deal with that in the workplace from the employee side?
Yep. So if you're an employee who is dealing with that, I think it's important to address it, to bring it to someone's attention, preferably someone who's in a position to do something about it and not part of the problem, which can be challenging, right? And my hope would be that employer would know enough, whomever's attention you're bringing it to would know enough to investigate and address it. I think the most important thing is not to ignore it, because things that get ignored, I tell employers this too, things that get ignored tend to grow, right? They tend to become worse over time. So, even if you think it's just an inkling or a whisper, it's worth bringing it up to someone's attention. And as I said, if there isn't someone in-house that, inside your organization that you're comfortable is the right person, maybe you can find out who their attorney is or who's on their board of directors if they have one, or, is there someone else that you can address it to? Ultimately, if you had to, you could go the legal route, right? And sometimes all it takes is a letter from an attorney to say, hey, employer, you're doing the wrong thing here. You need to get it straightened out. Hopefully it doesn't come to that, and you don't need to take that route. And I hate to say this because nobody should be driven out of their workplace, but if you're in a place where the culture just isn't the right culture for you, do what's best for you and find another one, because there are other ones. I mean, it's painful. It really is. And it sounds like you're punishing the victim, but I've been in situations where I knew I was better off leaving and finding something better, and I did. And so, it's unfortunate. It shouldn't come to that. But at the end of the day, you want to do what's best for you.
And on the other side, how do you coach the employer to be more senior friendly, and in terms of questions either to ask or not to ask in job interviews and once somebody is onboarded?
Yep. It's a tricky balance, because I believe strongly in open communication, positive communication. So you want to be open and positive, but you want to leave out anything that has even a twinge of a hint of ageism. Certainly not ask how old someone is. Ideally not even ask, you shouldn't ask what year did you graduate from college, high school, grad school, any of that. Anything that would identify someone's age shouldn't be asked. And focus on their accomplishments and their skills, their actual experience, that rather than trying to figure out how old they are or focusing on that. Once they're on board, I think it's important to just approach them as an individual, as a person, regardless of their age and what they bring to the table. And facilitate. One of the biggest challenges, I think, for older employees when they're working with younger employees is, do we have open communication between us? Not necessarily management that's the problem, but other colleagues. And so helping employees to understand each other, where they're coming from, their strengths and their weaknesses openly. I do a training that includes discussion about all the different generations in the workplace, and there are many now, and how they think, what they look for in an employer, what's important to them. And they're not that different necessarily across generations when you really get to talking about it and looking at individuals.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of this podcast, but I do want to ask, how do, in particular, employers reach out to you so they can be more sensitive, more effective,
Sure.
and more profitable by using both senior workers and workers in general?
Yep, sure. So my website is probably the best place to start, and that's rossinsightsolutions.com. So ROSS, rossinsightsolutions.com. And they can also call my work phone number, which actually does ring to my cell phone too, and that's 774-250-5005.
Well, thank you. I've learned a lot, and I think it's a growing issue now that folks are growing into their jobs longer than ever, and providing necessary, capable hands. So thank you for bringing us up to speed on a lot of the issues related to that.
Thank you, Steve. I
All
appreciate
right.
the opportunity.
All right. Thanks for being with us. Take care.